So here we are in Final Cut Pro, and we're going to do a little tutorial on the living painting projects. So first, I will import my media into this new library that I just opened. And I will find my media here. So first, these are my green screens. I have 3 sessions of green screens. I will import the 3 of them, so I have for sure good examples of paintings that I want to use. Import media, create optimized, and proxy, and copy to library, and import. I have sample paintings here. I will select a few of them. I'm looking for a specific project here. Okay, there's one. There's another one here. So why don't I just select them all? And import them. So I'm looking at this specific painting here. I'm going to have one of the kids crossing that river. So I'm going to go into my double click here and search for the media of my boy crossing. So there he is. I press I for in point and tab for playing, or spacebar for playing. And he's going to do 3 jumps. It's a selected shot, so I know this one works. We did 5 takes of this one, and only one was good. He's very limited to the screen size there, so I was very careful. So I backspace, so left arrow, just to select the last frame, and I do O for out point. So I have an in point and an out point, and I'm going to grab this shot and drag it down to my timeline. So now I have the specific shot I was looking for, and my background is here. I will drag my background on top for now. It doesn't matter. I will stretch it to fit my action. Now I know that I have to change the size of that background, and I have to put him on top. So selecting the green screen, I will press Control and lift from storyline, simply to detach it from the main storyline. So now I can play with it separately, individually, and put it on top. So on top I have my green screen, in the bottom I have my background. My background has to be resized, but I will do that later. For now, I'll simply go into my filters here on the right side, and I will select my keying filters and my keyer. Now my keyer, I may have to apply some specific adjustments if the keying is not good the first time, or I may want to do some adjustments. So when you apply a filter, it comes here on the right top into what we call the inspector. This is the button of the inspector. I close the inspector. I open the inspector by just clicking on this little button here, show or hide the inspector. In the inspector, I apply the keyer, so the keyer is right there on top, and I have different things I can do. I can change the strength of my filter, but I want the strength to be enough to, you see how the screen appears and disappears, and I can see in those areas here there's a little bit of fogging that comes from the green screen reflections, so you want that out. So I can apply, let's say, 70% strength, and then I can open my matte tools and I can see if I need any adjustments here. I may not need it. It looks pretty okay. I can soften the edge of the matte. If you soften a lot, you will see he disappears. He's completely fogged out. But you want maybe a little bit of softness, so from 0 to maybe 1 or 2 or 3, just a tiny bit of softness. And you want to erode the mask a little bit. And maybe if you shift and expand the matte, you can see that I'm actually increasing the power of my matte tool here. So I may shrink my matte a tiny bit, not too much, because I'm losing him. You see his legs here are disappearing, so you don't want that. So I'm coming back here and I'm looking at how much shrink I can apply. Actually not much, about 0. I'll leave it alone. So I got a matte here that satisfies my needs. Now what I need to do is finish the cropping here. So I will go down on my tools in the inspector, past the color, past the transforms, where I can change the scale. I'm probably going to scale him down to something quite small. I don't know yet, but I won't do that right now completely. I'll just do my crop first. So there is my crop tool. 2 ways to do the crop. I can go here, right into the crop window, and just crop out the places where the screen was not effective, top and bottom. You see now I'm cutting his feet. I don't want that, so I'm just very delicate with the bottom. So now I have him completely cropped and the painting is showing behind. I'm going to resize that painting. So I selected the painting. You see now it's all yellow around the painting. Now I can go into transforms, and now the transforms are applied to the painting because that's the one selected. So now I can increase the size of my painting to cover the whole area of my image. And now I'm going to select the boy and go back to my transform tools and scale him down so that he appears to be at a size that's reasonable for this painting, which is going to be way smaller than that. So I may want to increase the size of my painting somehow to make it plausible that he would be the right size. So I can also change the X and Y position so I get more of a nice composition, and increase the height of my painting here. So I got something that kind of looks like what I may want it to look. Now select my boy and go back to my transforms. But you can also find the transforms here right in the screen. it may be easier to just go and select my transforms. You see this is a transform button. And when I apply transform button, now I have on the screen cursors that I can adjust for rotation, which I won't do, so Command Z for this one. Position, I just grab the middle and I just move him around. So he's going to be somewhere here, and he's going to jump here and maybe there. He hasn't jumped. I'm going to leave him right on that little stone there. So put him right on the edge here. I think that's pretty fine. And now what I'm going to do, very important, is I'm going to put my player at the beginning of my segment. And you see he comes into the shot. And I will do probably a fade. I'll fade him in or something like that. So here he is. And that's the first jump. So I'm going to fix him, place him at the ledge here, just about ready to do his first jump. So now that I'm set in this position, this is the most important move here. I will take my transforms position and I will click on to the keyframe. You see here the yellow on the right side, my keyframe. I just selected a keyframe, so that's going to record the position of where my boy is right there on the ledge of the cliff. I will now move in time. I will go forward and let him jump. But just before he jumps, here, as he starts leaving the ground, I will come back to my position again and select a new keyframe to record that position exactly. And as he's leaving and jumping, he will never reach the other side, but I will help him because now he's here, and I will move him physically to the top middle of this stone. So if I play this back, you will see that I have forced his position to comply with the painting. So now I have 3 keyframes. 2 keyframes that establishes him on the ledge here, and 1 keyframe for the jump. And when I've done that, I say I can play it back. You see he's jumping. Now he's jumping right onto this stone here. Exactly. And then I will mark another keyframe as he's jumping another time. And before he jumps, here I will again go into my keyframe for position. That's in my transforms. And yet click again and create a new keyframe. And as he jumps and lands here, I will physically move him to this little stone here, which makes him in a very bad posture to cross the rest of the river. And he's not going to cross the rest because he's going to just stay there. And that's fun. So now I have 3 positions, 1, 2, and 3. And I helped him by putting keyframes and moving his position. And that's his action. I can press done on the transforms here. And I can play him back. So I'll put it at the beginning. And I'll simply press the play button and look at the results here. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's quite. I can adjust the exact position of where he lands here. To do that, I will go here on my selected shot, and I will press Control click and show video animations. When you do this, it will expand your layer here, and now you see on your window all your keyframes. They're all visible. And to travel from one keyframe to the other, if you just play with it, they will lock on the keyframe as I'm browsing. It locks on every keyframe as I'm browsing. So I can stop at this keyframe here. And if you're not sure, you can go to your transforms here. And on the right side, you see where the keyframe is yellow, there's an arrow. It's a blue arrow looking left. There's no arrow on the right side because that's the last keyframe. If I press on that arrow, it will take me from keyframe to keyframe. On the left side and then on the right again. So I'm first keyframe here, second keyframe. If you want, you can adjust, like I can put him, place him just a slightly down. Next keyframe, I can place him a little more to the side here, maybe a twitch higher. And then on the arrow again to the last keyframe. Now he's going to jump. I'm going to move that keyframe again a little left, a little higher on my X and Y. And then blue arrow to the last keyframe. And this time I'm going to move him a little to the right, like this. So that's pretty good. So now I've adjusted these keyframes. I can close my animation. I'm going to zoom in. I want my timeline to be bigger here so that I can do a little fine tuning. I'm going to place the first frame of action here when he starts moving. And I'm going to go down on my inspector, completely down on the inspector to the compositing. And I'm going to put opacity keyframe on. And I'm going to go backwards on the timeline until I get that black frame where there's no action started. And I'm simply going to, at that position, take the opacity down. So to make him disappear. So what happens here, I have two keyframes that I created. And if I play back, you'll see he fades in. And now he's in position, jumps, and jumps again. And jumps again. And then I stop him. And I'm going to mark a keyframe just before the last frame here. I mark another keyframe at 100%, and I move forward till about the end, and I'm going to fade him down to 0. So then again, he's there in that position, and he fades down. I have a little flare here on the image that I can correct. So now it's the full action. So there he is, and he jumps, and he jumps again and fades out. So now I'm going to extend the length of my background painting. And now I can take his action and move it more central. So there's a bit of painting before, he fades in, does all his action, a little bit of painting, and we're done. So that's one example of a keying. As for the flare, I can fix this by doing some cropping, or what I could do also is add in the effects I'll select the background and add some blooming light here, or some flashing lights here. Simply to enhance and create a sort of movement into the painting. So I'm dropping this filter that's called random, bokeh random, and to the painting. So I added some flares here that are dancing with his motion, and it adds a little life to the painting. Now a step further to this will be to add some motion in the water by importing some real action of waterfalls that I can supply the kids in class, and they can add some action into the water here. We'll do this in the further step when I come back, and we'll complete this project with some enhancements. So that's it for one painting. Next tutorial, I will do an example where I use reflections and other artifacts that are interesting. So that was tutorial number 1.